Welcome to Calm Mind, where thoughts finally slow down. I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. You don't need to focus, fix anything, or understand everything you hear tonight. Just let the words pass through as you rest. This is a gentle microdose of calm. Tonight, we explore something you know intimately, something that's probably brought you here, something that makes night feel different from day in ways you can't quite explain. Your thoughts feel loudest at night. During the day, your mind might be busy, distracted, moving from task to task, but manageable. The thoughts don't feel overwhelming. They're just there. Background noise. Mental activity, normal thinking. But at night, everything changes. The same thoughts that were manageable during the day become loud, insistent, consuming. They demand attention. They spiral. They multiply. They keep you awake with their volume, their intensity, their refusal to quiet down. And you might wonder, why? Why do thoughts feel so much louder at night? Why does the same worry that was mild during the day become catastrophic at 2 a.m.? Why does your mind race when your body is exhausted? Why can't you just stop thinking and sleep? Tonight, we're going to explore this, not just the experience. You already know the experience intimately, but the why, the mechanisms, the reasons your thoughts amplify at night. Because understanding why can help you work with your nighttime mind instead of fighting it. And here's something important to know from the start. This is not your fault. Your loud nighttime thoughts aren't a personal failing. They're not evidence of weakness or brokenness. They're a feature of how human brains work. Understanding that can help release the shame or frustration you might feel about them. Let's start by acknowledging nighttime thoughts are different. They feel different. They behave differently. And that difference is real, not imagined. During the day, thoughts come and go. You think something, then you're distracted by the next thing. A worry arises, but then your phone rings or someone needs you or you have to do something. The external world constantly interrupts your internal world. During the day, there's also context, other people, activities, evidence from reality. If you have an anxious thought about work, you can check your email, talk to a colleague, Do something productive. Reality provides feedback that can moderate the thought. But at night, all of that's gone. The external world has quieted. There are no distractions, no interruptions, no reality checks, just you and your thoughts. And in that isolation, thoughts become louder, more persistent, more convincing. At night, thoughts loop. The same worry circles back again and again. During the day, you might think about something once and move on. But at night, you think about it, then think about it again, then think about thinking about it. The thought becomes a spiral that feeds on itself. And at night, thoughts feel more true. Without reality to moderate them, without other perspectives, without the grounding of daylight and activity, thoughts take on an intensity and believability they don't have during the day. So yes, your experience is real. Nighttime thoughts are different, and understanding why they're different can help you relate to them differently. When thoughts are loud at night, you probably ask yourself, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just turn my brain off? Why does everyone else seem able to sleep while I'm lying here thinking and thinking and thinking? These questions add suffering to suffering. Because now you're not just dealing with loud thoughts, you're also judging yourself for having loud thoughts. You're making the experience mean something about you, something bad, something wrong. But here's the truth, nothing is wrong with you. Your brain is functioning exactly as human brains function. What you're experiencing is common, normal, and understandable. Not pleasant, but not abnormal. Millions of people right now, this very moment, are lying awake with loud thoughts. You're not alone in this. You're not uniquely broken. You're just human, with a human brain, experiencing something humans experience. And when you understand the mechanisms, the actual reasons thoughts get loud at night, you can stop asking what's wrong with me, and start asking what's happening, and how can I work with this? Those are much more useful questions. Let's define what we mean by loud thoughts, because thoughts don't actually have volume. They're not sounds. So what do we mean when we say thoughts feel loud? If this journey brings you some peace, understanding, or permission to be gentler with yourself, like and subscribe. This helps guide others to this peaceful space. Leave a comment on what brought you here tonight. Your story might be exactly what another restless mind needs to hear. Return whenever you need. Remind yourself about these truths. But for now, in this moment, your only task is to be here. Let your muscles release their tension. Feel your eyelids becoming pleasantly heavy. Allow your thoughts to slow and soften as we begin this journey together. Loud thoughts are insistent. They demand attention. They won't be ignored. They push to the front of consciousness and stay there. Even when you try to think about something else, they return. Insistent, demanding, persistent. Loud thoughts are repetitive. The same thought loops. The same worry circles, the same memory replays, over and over, like a song stuck in your head, but less pleasant. The repetition itself makes them feel louder. They're taking up more mental space through sheer persistence. Loud thoughts are emotionally charged. They carry feeling, anxiety, fear, regret, shame. The emotion amplifies the thought, makes it feel urgent, important, impossible to ignore. The feeling and the thinking feed each other, creating intensity. Loud thoughts feel overwhelming, like they're too much, like you can't contain them or control them, like your mind is flooding with thought noise that you can't turn down or turn off. This sense of overwhelm is part of what makes them feel loud. So when we talk about loud thoughts, we're really talking about thoughts that are insistent, repetitive, emotionally charged, and overwhelming. Understanding this helps, because you can work with each of these qualities. Loud thoughts are exhausting. You're lying there, trying to sleep, and your mind is racing. And it's not just that you're not sleeping, it's that thinking this intensely is work. Mental work, emotional work, exhausting work. Your mind is processing, analyzing, worrying, planning, remembering, imagining. All of this takes energy, cognitive energy, emotional energy. Even though your body is lying still, your mind is running a marathon, and that's depleting. So you wake up tired, not just from lack of sleep, though that's part of it, but from the exhaustion of thinking so hard all night. From the mental and emotional labor of managing loud thoughts for hours. And then you feel guilty about being tired, because you were just lying there. You weren't doing anything. How can you be tired from just lying there? But you were doing something. You were thinking intensely. You were working, even though it doesn't look like work. Understanding that loud thoughts are exhausting can help you be gentler with yourself. You're not lazy. You're not weak. You're tired from real work, the work of managing an overactive mind in the middle of the night. Tonight, we're going to understand your loud nighttime thoughts, not fix them. Understanding isn't the same as fixing. But when you understand what's happening and why, the thoughts become less scary, less personal, less like evidence that something's wrong with you. We'll explore the science, the actual mechanisms that make thoughts louder at night. We'll look at what your brain is doing, why it's doing it, and what that means for you. We'll explore the emotional component, why feelings amplify at night, and how that amplification affects your thoughts. And we'll explore what actually helps, not fighting your thoughts, not trying to force them silent, but working with your nighttime mind in ways that allow rest. This isn't about never having loud thoughts again. That's probably not realistic. This is about changing your relationship with the thoughts, about understanding them, about not adding suffering to the already difficult experience of being awake with a racing mind. So settle in. Let your body rest even if your mind is active. And let's explore together why your thoughts feel loudest at night, and what you can do about it. There's something comforting about understanding. When you know why something is happening, it feels less random, less scary, less like something's wrong with you personally. Right now, your loud nighttime thoughts might feel like a personal failing, like your brain is broken, like you're doing something wrong. But when you understand the mechanisms, when you see that this is how brains work, that there are reasons, that it's not random or personal, there's relief in that. Understanding doesn't make the thoughts go away immediately, but it changes how you relate to them. You stop fighting so hard. You stop judging yourself so harshly. You start working with your brain instead of against it. And that shift, from fighting to understanding, from judgment to curiosity, that shift itself can quiet thoughts, not through force, but through acceptance, through recognizing, this is what's happening, this is why, and that's okay. So tonight, let curiosity replace frustration. Let understanding replace self-judgment. Let knowledge replace confusion. and see what happens when you approach your loud thoughts with gentleness instead of resistance. Over these hours, you'll discover things about your nighttime mind that might surprise you. Things that explain experiences you've had for years but never understood. You'll discover why 3 a.m. thoughts feel so catastrophic when the same thoughts at 3 p.m. felt manageable. You'll understand the brain chemistry that amplifies anxiety at night. You'll learn why your mind races when your body is exhausted. You'll discover that your brain is trying to help, even when it feels like it's working against you. That the loud thoughts serve a function, even if that function isn't helpful right now. That your mind isn't broken. It's doing what minds do. And you'll discover strategies that actually work. Not forcing thoughts away, that rarely works. But approaches that allow thoughts to settle. That work with your brain's natural rhythms instead of fighting them. This knowledge is power. Not power to control your thoughts completely, that's not realistic. But power to respond to them differently. Power to reduce their intensity. Power to find rest even when thoughts are present. So let's begin. Let's explore why your thoughts feel loudest at night. Let's understand what's happening in your brain, in your body, in your emotional system when you're lying awake with racing thoughts. And let's do this gently, with curiosity, with compassion for yourself and your overactive mind. Because understanding combined with self-compassion, that's the path to quieter nights. Let's start with science. Because there are actual, measurable, biological reasons why thoughts feel louder at night. This isn't all in your head. Well, it is in your head, but it's real. Physical, chemical, neurological. Understanding the science can be deeply validating, because it confirms you're not imagining this. You're not weak. Your brain is following predictable patterns that happen to millions of people. There are reasons. So let's explore what's actually happening in your brain and body at night that makes thoughts louder. Let's look at the mechanisms, the chemistry, the neuroscience of nighttime thinking. Your brain has rhythms, patterns of activity that change throughout the day and night. These rhythms affect everything, including how you think. During the day, particularly in the morning and early afternoon, your prefrontal cortex is most active. This is the part of your brain responsible for executive function, planning, rational thinking, perspective taking, Emotional regulation. It's your brain's manager. The prefrontal cortex helps you contextualize thoughts. It provides perspective. It can say, yes, that's a worry, but here's a balanced view. Here's what's actually likely. Here's what we can do about it. It moderates. It regulates. It keeps thoughts from spiraling. But at night, prefrontal cortex activity decreases. It's preparing for sleep. Its regulatory function weakens. And when that happens, thoughts become less regulated, less balanced, less contextualized. Meanwhile, the amygdala, your brain's emotional center, particularly for processing fear and threat, doesn't decrease its activity as much. So you have decreased rational regulation combined with maintained emotional reactivity. That combination makes thoughts feel more intense, more threatening, more overwhelming. This is why the same thought feels different at night. During the day, your prefrontal cortex provides context. This worry is manageable. Here's perspective. At night, that regulatory voice is quieter, and the worry feels bigger, scarier, more catastrophic. This isn't your fault. This isn't weakness. This is brain chemistry following its natural circadian rhythm. Understanding this can help you not believe nighttime thoughts as completely. They're louder not because they're more true, but because your brain's regulatory system is less active. Let's talk about cortisol. It's often called the stress hormone, though it does more than just respond to stress. It follows a daily rhythm, and that rhythm affects your nighttime thinking. Cortisol is typically lowest around midnight to 2 a.m. Then it starts rising, preparing your body to wake up. There's often a surge around 3 to 4 a.m. This is normal. This is your body's natural wake-up preparation. But here's what happens. That cortisol surge can wake you up. Not fully, but enough to shift you from deep sleep to lighter sleep or partial wakefulness. And when cortisol is elevated, even slightly, it activates your stress response system. So you wake up at 3 a.m., and your stress response is already somewhat activated. Your brain is primed to look for threats, to scan for problems, to worry. Not because there's actually more to worry about at 3 a.m., but because your biochemistry has shifted. This is why 3 a.m. worries feel so intense. Your cortisol is elevated, activating stress response. Your prefrontal cortex is less active, reducing regulation. Your amygdala is reactive, the perfect storm for catastrophic thinking. Understanding this doesn't make the 3 a.m. worries disappear, but it helps you not take them so seriously. Oh, this is the 3 a.m. cortisol surge. This is biochemistry, not reality. These thoughts are louder because of hormones, not because they're more true. Here's a simple but profound reason thoughts feel louder at night. There's nothing else competing for your attention. During the day, your attention is split among many things: work tasks, conversations, physical movement, sensory input from the environment, your phone, other people, the constant stimulation of being awake and active in the world. All of this provides what psychologists call cognitive load. Your attention is occupied by external demands. And when attention is occupied externally, there's less available for internal thoughts. The thoughts are still there, but they're quieter because you're not focusing on them. But at night, you're lying in darkness, silence, stillness. Nothing is demanding your attention externally, so all of your attention is available for internal experience, for thoughts, for worries, for mental activity. It's like turning up the volume on your thoughts, not because the thoughts themselves are louder, but because there's no other sound to compete with them. They're the only thing happening, so they feel amplified by contrast with the quietness around you. This is why keeping yourself busy during the day sometimes helps manage anxiety. The busyness isn't solving anything. It's just occupying attention so thoughts feel quieter. But at night, that strategy isn't available. You can't distract yourself the same way. Understanding this helps explain why trying to distract yourself at night often doesn't work. You're fighting against the natural fact that nighttime provides less external stimulation. Instead of fighting that, you need different strategies for nighttime. Strategies that work with the quiet, not against it. Here's an interesting cycle. Anxiety prevents sleep, and the inability to sleep increases anxiety. This creates a feedback loop that makes thoughts louder. When you're lying awake, unable to sleep, you start to feel anxious about not sleeping. I need to sleep. I have work tomorrow. It's already 2 a.m. and I haven't slept. This is going to ruin my day. Why can't I just sleep? This anxiety about sleep becomes its own source of loud thoughts. And that anxiety activates your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response, which makes sleep even less likely, which increases anxiety about not sleeping, which makes sleep even harder. It's a vicious cycle. Your body also has a sleep pressure system. The longer you're awake, the more sleep pressure builds. This is natural and helpful during the day. It helps you feel sleepy at night. But when you're already lying awake, sleep pressure can create desperation. An urgent need to sleep that paradoxically prevents sleep. So you have biological sleep pressure plus psychological anxiety about not sleeping plus thoughts that are already loud for other reasons. All of this combines to make the nighttime mental state even more intense. Understanding this cycle helps you interrupt it. Instead of getting anxious about being awake, you can acknowledge, "I'm awake right now." That's uncomfortable, but it's not an emergency. Sleep will come eventually. Being anxious about it makes it worse. That acknowledgement itself can reduce the anxiety component of the cycle. Let's talk about REM sleep and how it affects nighttime thoughts. REM is the stage of sleep where most dreaming occurs. It's also when your brain processes emotions and consolidates memories. If you've been sleep deprived, your brain has a backlog of REM sleep needs. When you finally do sleep, your brain tries to get extra REM to catch up. This is called REM rebound. But here's what's interesting. During REM rebound, you can experience more intense dreams, more waking during REM, and more emotional processing. This can make nighttime mental activity more intense, more vivid thoughts, more emotional thoughts, more difficulty staying asleep. So if you've been running on poor sleep for a while, even when you try to rest, your brain might be hyperactive at night trying to catch up on REM processing. This isn't your brain working against you. It's trying to do necessary maintenance. But it can make thoughts feel louder and sleep feel more elusive. This is another reason why one good night's sleep often isn't enough to fix sleep problems. Your brain needs sustained rest to catch up on sleep debt and regulate its REM cycles. Understanding this can help you be patient with the process. Melatonin is often called the sleep hormone, but it doesn't knock you out like a sleeping pill. Instead, it signals to your body that it's time to wind down. It facilitates the transition to sleep. Melatonin typically starts rising in the evening as light decreases. It helps slow your metabolism, lower your body temperature, and quiet your nervous system, all preparing you for sleep. But several things can disrupt melatonin production. Blue light from screens suppresses it. Stress can interfere with it. Irregular sleep schedules can throw off its timing. Aging naturally reduces melatonin production. When melatonin is disrupted, the natural quieting process doesn't happen as smoothly. Your body doesn't get the signal that it's time to wind down. Your nervous system stays more activated, and thoughts stay louder because the biological quieting mechanism isn't working optimally. This is one reason why sleep hygiene matters, not because it's a magic fix, but because it supports your body's natural melatonin rhythm. Darkness, coolness, consistency. These help melatonin do its job of facilitating the transition to sleep and mental quieting. Understanding melatonin helps explain why forcing yourself to sleep doesn't work. You can't will melatonin into action. You can only create conditions that support its natural rhythm, and that requires patience, gentleness, and working with your body instead of fighting it. Rumination, repetitive, looping thoughts about problems or worries, has a neurological basis. Understanding this can help you not feel so personally responsible for thoughts that won't stop circling. When you ruminate, you activate certain neural networks, particularly in the default mode network. This is a set of brain regions that are active when you're not focused on external tasks, when you're just thinking. The default mode network is useful. It allows for self-reflection, planning, creativity. But it can also get stuck in loops. The same pathways fire repeatedly, creating the experience of thoughts circling back to the same worries. At night, with less external focus and decreased prefrontal regulation, the default mode network can become hyperactive. And without your executive function to redirect it, it loops. Same thoughts, same worries, same circles, over and over. This is neural activity, not personal failing. Your brain's networks are functioning. They're just stuck in a pattern. Understanding this as a neural pattern rather than something you're doing wrong can help you relate to it differently. The way to work with neural loops isn't to fight them directly. That often activates them more. It's to gently redirect attention, to engage different neural networks. to allow the loop to run down by not feeding it with more analytical thought. We'll explore how to do this later. So let's bring together what we understand. At night, your prefrontal cortex is less active, reducing regulation. Your amygdala stays reactive. Cortisol surges can activate stress response. There's no external distraction. Sleep anxiety creates feedback loops. REM rebound can intensify mental activity. Melatonin might be disrupted, and neural networks can get stuck in rumination loops. All of these mechanisms explain why thoughts feel louder at night. It's not one thing. It's multiple systems interacting. And understanding that this is complex, biological, and not your fault, that's the foundation for working with your nighttime mind instead of fighting it. You're not broken. Your brain is functioning exactly as brains function under these conditions. And while that doesn't make the experience pleasant, it does make it understandable, normal, human. Now let's explore what your brain is actually doing when thoughts are loud at night. Because it's not random. It's not malicious. Your brain has purposes, even if those purposes aren't serving you well right now. Understanding what your brain is trying to accomplish can help you work with it more effectively. Instead of seeing your racing thoughts as an enemy, you can see them as a misguided attempt to help. And that shift in perspective changes everything. One thing your brain is often doing at night, trying to solve problems. You have unsolved problems in your life. Everyone does. And your brain, helpful as it thinks it's being, tries to solve them. During the day, you're distracted by other things. You don't have sustained time to really focus on problems, so your brain waits. And at night, when there are no distractions, when you have uninterrupted time, your brain sees an opportunity. Perfect, your brain thinks. Now we can really focus on this problem. No interruptions. We can analyze this thoroughly. Let's figure this out. But here's the problem. Nighttime is terrible for problem solving. Your rational thinking is impaired. Your perspective is skewed. Your emotional regulation is decreased. You're trying to solve problems with a brain that's not equipped for good problem solving right now. So you lie there, trying to figure things out, but you're not actually making progress. You're just spinning, going in circles, creating more anxiety without finding solutions. Because your brain is trying to do something useful, but it's doing it at the wrong time with the wrong tools. Understanding this can help you gently interrupt the pattern. Thank you, brain, for trying to help. But this isn't the time. These problems will still be here tomorrow when I can actually think about them productively. Right now, we're resting. Another thing your brain is doing: scanning for threats. This is an ancient survival mechanism. Your brain's job is to keep you safe. And part of keeping you safe is constantly assessing what might go wrong, what dangers exist, what do I need to prepare for. During the day, your rational mind can provide perspective on these threat assessments. Yes, that could go wrong, but it's unlikely. Yes, that's a concern, but here's what we can do about it. Yes, that's uncomfortable, but it's not actually dangerous. But at night, without that rational perspective, threat assessment goes haywire. Every possibility feels like a probability. Every worry feels like a warning. Every what if feels like a genuine threat. Your brain is trying to protect you. It's doing its job, but it's doing it with impaired judgment, so it sees threats everywhere. It catastrophizes. It imagines worst-case scenarios, not because those scenarios are likely, but because that's what happens when threat assessment operates without rational moderation. This is why nighttime worries feel so catastrophic. Your brain is in protection mode, seeing everything as potentially dangerous. And it won't let you rest until it feels like you've adequately prepared for all the threats, which you can't, because many of the threats aren't real. Understanding this as a malfunctioning threat assessment system, not accurate prediction of reality, can help you not take nighttime worries so seriously. Your brain is trying to protect you, but it's confused about what's actually threatening. Your brain also uses nighttime for processing, consolidating memories, integrating experiences, making sense of what happened during the day. This is normal and necessary, but it can become problematic. If you had a difficult day, stressful interactions, bad news, overwhelming experiences, your brain tries to process these at night. It replays events, analyzes interactions, tries to make sense of what happened and how you feel about it. This processing can show up as repetitive thoughts, replaying conversations, analyzing what you said or didn't say, worrying about how others perceived you. Your brain is trying to learn from the day's experiences, but the processing keeps you awake. Sometimes the processing is emotional. You feel emotions during the day but don't fully experience them. You're too busy, you suppress them, you push through. At night, those emotions emerge. And with them come thoughts about the situations that triggered them. Your brain isn't trying to torture you. It's trying to do necessary psychological work, processing emotions, consolidating memories, learning from experiences. But it's doing it when you need to sleep, creating conflict between two legitimate needs. Understanding this can help you approach nighttime processing differently. Instead of fighting it, you might acknowledge, yes, brain, we do need to process this. But maybe not all right now. We can process some tomorrow. Right now, we need rest. Your brain is also often planning, anticipating what's coming tomorrow, next week, next month, trying to prepare, trying to feel ready for what's ahead. This is useful during the day, making plans, thinking ahead, preparing for future events. These are valuable activities. But at night, anticipatory planning becomes worry. Instead of productively planning, you're imagining everything that could go wrong. Instead of feeling prepared, you're feeling overwhelmed by all the unknowns. Your brain thinks it's helping you prepare, but it's actually just creating anxiety about the future. And often, you're planning for things you can't actually plan for, worrying about outcomes you can't control, trying to prepare for every possibility when that's impossible. Your brain thinks it's being prudent, but it's actually just spinning its wheels. The difference between useful planning and anxious rumination is actionability. If you can take action on something, planning is useful. If you can't, if it's outside your control, too far in the future, or purely hypothetical, then it's not planning, it's just worry. Understanding this distinction can help you redirect your brain. Is this actionable right now? No. Then this isn't planning, it's worry. We can think about actionable things tomorrow. Right now, we rest. Here's another thing your brain is doing, trying to find certainty in an uncertain world. This is perhaps the most exhausting nighttime mental activity. Humans crave certainty. We want to know what will happen, want to feel sure about decisions, want to eliminate uncertainty and ambiguity. It feels safer to know than to not know. So at night, your brain tries to create certainty. It analyzes situations from every angle, trying to figure out the right answer. It imagines scenarios, trying to predict what will happen. It replays decisions, trying to feel sure you chose correctly. But most of life is uncertain. Most situations don't have clear right answers. Most futures are unpredictable. So your brain's quest for certainty is futile, but it keeps trying anyway, keeping you awake with the effort. If I just think about this enough, I'll know what to do. If I just analyze this thoroughly enough, I'll feel certain. If I just consider every possibility, I'll be prepared. But you can never think your way to complete certainty. It doesn't exist. Understanding that your brain is seeking impossible certainty can help you accept uncertainty instead. I don't know what will happen. I can't be completely sure. And that's uncomfortable. But it's reality. I don't need certainty to rest. Related to seeking certainty, your brain is trying to control things, trying to manage outcomes, trying to make sure things go well, trying to prevent problems. This comes from a good place. Your brain wants you to be okay, wants your life to go well. So it tries to control, through thinking, through planning, through worrying, through mental rehearsal. But thinking about something doesn't give you control over it. Worrying doesn't prevent bad outcomes. Mental rehearsal doesn't guarantee success. Your brain thinks if it just thinks hard enough, it can control things. But that's an illusion. You have influence over some things. You have control over very little. And the difference between those two, that's important. You can influence outcomes through your actions, but you can't control them through your thoughts. Yet your brain keeps trying, keeps thinking if it just works hard enough mentally, it can control external reality. And that impossible effort keeps you awake, exhausts you, creates the illusion that you're doing something useful when you're just spinning. Understanding this can help you release the illusion of mental control. I can't think my way into controlling this. I can act on it tomorrow if action is possible. But thinking about it at night doesn't give me control. It just keeps me awake. Sometimes your brain is searching for meaning, trying to understand why something happened, trying to make sense of painful experiences, trying to find significance in events. This search for meaning is deeply human. We're meaning-making creatures. We need things to make sense. When something difficult happens, loss, rejection, failure, trauma, we need to understand it, integrate it, find meaning in it. But meaning-making is complex work. It often can't be done in one night of thinking. It requires time, perspective, emotional processing, sometimes support from others. Yet your brain tries to do it alone at night, in the dark, without resources. Why did this happen to me? What does this mean about my life? How do I make sense of this? These are important questions, but they're not questions you can answer through nighttime rumination. They're questions that need time, space, and often help. Your brain is trying to do important work, finding meaning, making sense, integrating experience. But it's trying to do months or years of work in one sleepless night. And that's impossible. But your brain keeps trying, keeping you awake with the effort. Understanding this can help you be patient with the process. This is important. I do need to make sense of this, but I don't have to do it all tonight. This is ongoing work. Right now, I can rest and trust that meaning will emerge over time. Your brain is also trying to regulate emotions. When strong feelings arise, especially uncomfortable ones like anxiety, sadness, anger, your brain tries to manage them, often through thinking. If I just figure out what to do about this, I won't feel so anxious. If I just understand why this happened, I won't feel so sad. If I just plan how to handle this, I won't feel so afraid. Your brain thinks it can think its way out of feeling. But thinking doesn't eliminate feelings. Sometimes it amplifies them. You think about the thing making you anxious, and you feel more anxious. You think about the thing making you sad, and you feel more sad. The thinking doesn't regulate the emotion. It feeds it. What actually helps emotions is feeling them, not thinking about them, allowing them, not analyzing them. But your brain doesn't know this. It thinks thinking equals managing. So it keeps thinking, trying to manage feelings, but actually just stirring them up more. Understanding that thinking is your brain's misguided attempt at emotional regulation can help you try something different. Instead of thinking about feelings, just feeling them. Just allowing them to be present without trying to think them away. So what is your brain doing when thoughts are loud at night? It's trying to solve problems. assess threats, process the day, plan for the future, find certainty, control outcomes, search for meaning, regulate emotions. All of these are attempts to help. Your brain thinks it's being useful. It's trying to keep you safe, prepare you for the future, make sense of your life. It's not malicious. It's not broken. It's just misguided. Because nighttime is the wrong time for these activities. Your brain lacks the resources, rational thinking, emotional regulation, perspective, context, that would make these activities productive. So it spins its wheels, working hard but accomplishing little except keeping you awake. Understanding what your brain is trying to do, understanding its intentions, even when the execution is problematic, this helps you relate to your thoughts differently, not as enemies to fight, but as misguided helpers to gently redirect. Understanding what your brain is trying to do, understanding its intentions, even when the execution is problematic, this helps you relate to your thoughts differently, not as enemies to fight, but as misguided helpers to gently redirect. Now let's talk about emotions. Because thoughts at night aren't just loud, they're emotionally intense. The same thought that feels manageable during the day feels overwhelming at night. And this emotional amplification is a key part of why nighttime thoughts are so difficult. Understanding how and why emotions amplify at night can help you not take nighttime feelings as absolute truth. Can help you recognize these feelings are intense because of nighttime brain chemistry, not because the situation is actually more dire than it was this afternoon. There are several reasons emotions feel amplified at night. Let's start with the neurological ones we touched on earlier. Decreased prefrontal cortex activity means decreased emotional regulation. During the day, your prefrontal cortex helps moderate emotions. It provides perspective. It can say, yes, you feel anxious, but this isn't as catastrophic as it feels. Yes, you're sad, but you felt sad before and it passed. Yes, this is uncomfortable, but it's manageable. At night, that regulatory voice is quieter, so emotions run with less moderation. Fear becomes terror. Sadness becomes despair. Worry becomes panic. Not because the situations have changed, but because your brain's ability to regulate emotional intensity has decreased. Your amygdala, the emotional processing center, maintains relatively high activity at night. especially for threat-related emotions like fear and anxiety. So you have high emotional reactivity combined with low emotional regulation. That's a recipe for overwhelming feelings. Add to this the fatigue factor. When you're tired, everything is harder, including managing emotions. You have less resilience, less capacity to cope, less ability to maintain perspective. So emotions that you could handle when rested become overwhelming when exhausted. And there's the isolation factor. During the day, you have people around, activities, distractions. These provide emotional regulation through external means. Other people's presence, even if you're not talking to them, can be calming. Activity can discharge emotional energy. But at night, you're alone, in darkness, in silence, no external regulation available, just you and your emotions. And in that isolation, emotions intensify. They echo in the emptiness. They fill the space that during the day is filled with external activity. All of this combines to create emotional amplification, not because you're more emotional at night, but because the factors that usually help moderate emotions are absent or impaired. Let's look specifically at anxiety, because it's the emotion most commonly amplified at night. And anxiety has a particular relationship with thoughts. They feed each other in a spiral. An anxious thought arises. What if I can't handle this? That thought triggers anxiety in your body, increased heart rate, shallow breathing, tension. That physical anxiety makes the thought feel more valid, more urgent. I'm feeling anxious, so this must be serious. The increased anxiety generates more anxious thoughts. What if everything goes wrong? What if I fail? What if? Each new thought intensifies the anxiety. The anxiety intensifies the thoughts. Around and around, spiraling upward in intensity. At night, this spiral happens faster and more intensely because your regulatory systems are impaired. During the day, you might catch the spiral early and interrupt it. But at night, it gains momentum before you even realize it's happening. And the spiral is self-validating. I feel this anxious, so these thoughts must be true. These thoughts are so persistent, so the anxiety must be justified. The intensity becomes evidence that the content is serious, when really, the intensity is just evidence of impaired regulation. Understanding the anxiety thought spiral helps you not take its intensity as proof of danger. I'm in a spiral. The intensity doesn't mean things are actually catastrophic. It means my regulatory systems are struggling. The feelings are real, but they're not reliable indicators of actual threat level. Here's something fascinating. Emotional memories are more likely to surface at night, particularly difficult or traumatic memories. This is partly because of how memory consolidation works during sleep preparation. Your brain tags emotionally significant memories for consolidation. These are memories it thinks you need to remember, usually because they were intense or important. At night, as your brain prepares for the memory consolidation that happens during sleep, these tagged memories can surface. So you might find yourself thinking about things that happened years ago. Painful memories, regrets, losses, embarrassing moments. These aren't random. Your brain is queuing them up for processing. But experiencing them at night, without emotional regulation, makes them feel fresh and raw again. You might feel emotions you haven't felt in years. Grief that you thought you'd processed. Shame about things long past. Fear from old experiences. Not because these events are happening now, but because your brain is processing the memories, and the emotions attached to them resurface. This can be confusing and distressing. Why am I thinking about this now? I dealt with this years ago. But emotional memory surfacing at night is a normal part of memory consolidation. Your brain isn't broken. It's doing maintenance work. Understanding this can help you not get too caught up in the content of nighttime memories. This is memory processing. These feelings are intense because of nighttime amplification, not because I haven't healed. I can acknowledge this memory without diving deep into it right now. There's a particular kind of loneliness that happens at night. Even if you're not alone, even if someone is sleeping next to you, there's a sense of being alone with your thoughts and feelings that amplifies emotional intensity. During the day, you're part of the social world, connected, even loosely, to other people. That connection provides emotional grounding, a sense of not being alone in your experience, a reminder that others exist and your problems aren't the only problems. But at night, that social connection dissolves. Everyone is asleep. You can't reach out, can't talk to anyone, can't get perspective from others. You're isolated with your experience. And in that isolation, everything feels bigger. The loneliness itself becomes an emotion that needs processing, and it combines with whatever else you're feeling: anxiety plus loneliness, sadness plus loneliness, fear plus loneliness. The emotions compound, intensifying each other. There's also a particular vulnerability to nighttime loneliness. In darkness, with defenses down, emotions you might manage during the day become overwhelming. You feel more fragile, more in need of connection, more aware of isolation. Understanding nighttime loneliness as a normal experience, not a sign of being fundamentally alone in life, but a feature of nighttime psychology, can help you not make it mean too much. This is nighttime loneliness. It's temporary. Connection exists, even if it's not available right this moment. At night, thoughts tend toward catastrophe. The same situation you assessed realistically during the day becomes worst-case scenario at night. This is catastrophizing, and it's particularly common in nighttime thinking. Catastrophizing means imagining the worst possible outcome and treating it as likely or inevitable. If this happens, then that will happen, and then everything will fall apart. Your brain follows the chain of worst-case possibilities until you're imagining total disaster. This isn't random. It's your threat assessment system malfunctioning. Without rational regulation, your brain sees danger everywhere and imagines the worst. It thinks it's preparing you, keeping you safe. But it's actually just creating fear about unlikely scenarios. During the day, you can catch catastrophizing and reality check it. Okay, but what's actually likely? What's the realistic probability of that worst case? What other outcomes are possible? You can bring logic to bear on the catastrophic thoughts. But at night, logic is impaired, so catastrophic thinking runs unchecked. Each worst-case scenario leads to another. You can spiral into imagining disasters that are extremely unlikely but feel absolutely certain in the moment. Understanding catastrophizing as a nighttime thinking pattern, not accurate prediction, helps you not believe the catastrophes. This is nighttime catastrophizing. My brain is showing me worst cases, not likely outcomes. These scenarios feel certain because of emotional amplification, not because they're actually probable. Shame is another emotion that intensifies at night. During the day, shame might be manageable, uncomfortable, but containable. At night, shame can become overwhelming. Shame thrives in isolation and darkness. It tells you you're bad, you're wrong, you're defective, you're unworthy. And at night, without other voices to counter it, without activity to distract from it, shame's voice becomes loud. You might replay moments you're ashamed of, things you said or did, ways you failed or fell short. Shame tells you these moments define you, prove something terrible about you, mean you're fundamentally flawed. And because emotional regulation is impaired at night, you can't access the rational perspective that would counter shame. During the day, you might think, yes, I made a mistake, but everyone makes mistakes. Yes, that was awkward, but it doesn't define me. At night, those rational thoughts are harder to access. Shame also triggers the hiding instinct. You want to hide from the shameful thoughts, which paradoxically keeps you stuck with them. You can't escape your own mind. So shame circulates, intensifies, becomes unbearable. Understanding nighttime shame as amplified by impaired regulation, not accurate assessment of your worth, can help you not believe it completely. This is shame talking. It feels overwhelming because of nighttime brain chemistry. These thoughts don't reflect my actual worth. Grief, too, intensifies at night. Whether it's recent loss or old grief that resurfaces, nighttime makes it more acute, more painful, more consuming. Part of this is because grief needs space. During the day, you're managing other things, staying functional, keeping it together. Grief gets pushed aside. But at night, when there's nothing else demanding attention, grief fills the space. Grief also needs emotional expression, crying, feeling, allowing. But we often suppress grief during the day. At night, that suppression is harder to maintain. The grief emerges, and without the ability to regulate it well, it feels overwhelming. There's also something about darkness and silence that mirrors the emptiness of loss. The absence of the person, the thing, the life you had. That absence is echoed in the darkness and quiet of night. It makes the loss feel more present, more painful. And grief at night often comes with other emotions: loneliness, regret, fear about the future. These compound, creating an emotional storm that feels unbearable. You're grieving the loss and also everything the loss represents and triggers. Understanding that nighttime amplifies grief, that the intensity at 3 a.m. doesn't mean your grief is getting worse, just that your capacity to regulate it is temporarily reduced, can help you be gentle with yourself. This is nighttime grief. It's intense right now. That's normal. It will feel different in the morning. Your body holds emotions, and at night, when you're lying still, you become more aware of what your body is feeling. This can make emotions feel more intense because you're feeling them physically, not just mentally. Anxiety lives in your chest, your stomach, your throat. You feel it as tightness, butterflies, constriction. At night, without distraction, these physical sensations are very present, and they amplify the anxious thoughts. The thoughts trigger the sensations trigger more thoughts. Sadness has a physical quality too. Heaviness in the chest, tightness in the throat, that hollow feeling in your core. When you're lying still at night, these sensations are impossible to ignore. They make the sadness feel bigger, more consuming. Even anger, which might not seem like a nighttime emotion, can show up as tension in your jaw, your shoulders, your fists. The physical holding of anger that you might not notice during the day becomes obvious at night. And all of these physical sensations feed back to your brain as evidence that something is wrong. I feel this tense, so there must be real danger. I feel this heavy, so things must be really bad. The body's signals amplify the emotions, which create more body sensations, in a feedback loop. Understanding emotions as both mental and physical, and that nighttime stillness makes the physical component more apparent, helps you not be so frightened by the intensity. These are physical manifestations of emotions. They feel big because I'm paying attention to them. The sensations are real, but they don't mean imminent danger. So what do you do with emotions that feel overwhelming at night? First, understand that the intensity is temporary and amplified. The feelings are real, but their intensity is being magnified by nighttime brain chemistry. Second, don't try to think your way out of feelings. This usually makes them stronger. Instead, allow the feelings. Feel them in your body. Breathe with them. Let them be present without trying to fix or eliminate them. Third, practice what's called emotional naming. Simply naming what you're feeling. This is anxiety. This is sadness. This is fear. Can help create a little bit of distance. It engages your prefrontal cortex just enough to provide a tiny bit of regulation. Fourth, Remember that nighttime feelings don't require nighttime action. You can feel whatever you're feeling and still rest. The feelings will shift on their own. You don't have to resolve them or make them go away before you can sleep. And finally, be gentle with yourself. Having intense emotions at night doesn't mean you're broken or dramatic or weak. It means you're human with a human brain experiencing normal nighttime amplification. You deserve compassion, not judgment. Now that we understand why thoughts are loud at night, let's talk about what actually helps. Not fighting thoughts. That rarely works. Not trying to force your brain silent. Also ineffective. But working with your nighttime mind in ways that allow rest. The key shift is from fighting to allowing, from trying to control to learning to work with, from seeing thoughts as enemies to seeing them as experiences you can relate to differently. Let's start with what doesn't work: fighting your thoughts, trying to force them away, demanding they stop, getting angry at your brain for thinking. When you fight thoughts, you activate your stress response. Fighting is stressful. Your body doesn't distinguish between fighting external threats and fighting internal experiences. Stress is stress. So fighting thoughts activates the very system that makes sleep impossible. Fighting thoughts also gives them power. There's a psychological principle. What you resist persists. When you try hard not to think about something, you end up thinking about it more. Don't think about pink elephants and what appears in your mind. Pink elephants. When you fight thoughts, you're essentially focusing on them while trying to not focus on them. You're creating mental tension that actually strengthens the thought patterns you're trying to eliminate. It's counterproductive. Fighting also creates a secondary layer of suffering. Now you're not just dealing with the original thought, you're also dealing with frustration, anger, shame about having the thought. You're suffering about suffering, making a difficult experience worse. So the first principle of working with nighttime thoughts: stop fighting them. This doesn't mean you like them or want them. It just means you stop adding resistance to the already difficult experience of being awake with loud thoughts. Instead of fighting, practice allowing. This is different from liking or wanting. Allowing means, this thought is here. I don't have to like it, but I can let it be here without fighting it. Allowing creates space. When you're not using energy to fight, that energy becomes available for other things, like regulating your nervous system or just existing more peacefully with what is. Allowing also reduces the secondary suffering. You still have the thought. That's uncomfortable. But you don't also have the frustration and shame about having the thought. You're reducing the total amount of suffering by removing the layer of resistance. Here's what allowing looks like in practice. A thought arises. Instead of "no, stop thinking about that. Why can't I control my mind?" You think, "Okay, there's that thought again. I see it. I don't like it. But it's here. That's okay." This might feel passive, like you're giving up. But allowing is actually active. It's actively choosing not to fight, actively creating space, actively practicing acceptance of your present moment experience. Allowing doesn't mean the thought stays forever. Often, when you stop fighting a thought, it actually leaves more quickly, because you're not feeding it with resistant attention. You're just letting it be, and thoughts that are just allowed tend to move on their own. Here's another key shift, from believing thoughts to observing them. Not every thought is true. Not every thought requires your belief or response. You can notice a thought without buying into it. This is sometimes called diffusion in psychology. Fusing with a thought means taking it as absolute truth, as your identity, as reality. Diffusing means creating space between you and the thought, recognizing it as a mental event, not necessarily truth. Instead of "I'm going to fail," fused, believing the thought is true, you can think, "I'm having the thought that I'm going to fail," diffused, observing the thought as a thought. This small shift in language creates psychological distance. You're not the thought. The thought is not you. It's a mental event happening in your consciousness. You can observe it without necessarily believing it or acting on it. At night, this is particularly useful. Nighttime thoughts often aren't reliable. They're amplified, distorted, catastrophic. So observing them rather than believing them helps. That's a nighttime catastrophic thought. Interesting that my brain generated that. I don't have to believe it just because I thought it. This takes practice. Fusing with thoughts is automatic. Diffusing, observing, requires conscious effort. But with practice, it becomes more natural. And it dramatically reduces the power thoughts have over you. One practical technique: label your thought patterns. When you recognize a pattern, name it. This activates your prefrontal cortex slightly, providing a tiny bit of regulation. This is catastrophizing. This is rumination. This is my brain's threat assessment going haywire. This is the 3 a.m. cortisol surge talking. Labeling helps you recognize this is a pattern, not necessarily truth. Labeling also creates distance. Instead of being swept up in the content of the thought, you're recognizing the pattern. You're stepping back slightly, observing the process rather than just experiencing it. You might even develop your own language for your particular patterns. There's my worry again. This is my perfectionist voice. This is my what-if spiral. Personifying or naming your patterns can make them less intimidating, more manageable. The key is to label without judgment. Not "I'm catastrophizing again, I'm so stupid." Just, "This is catastrophizing. That's what my brain does at night. Okay." Neutral observation, not self-criticism. When thoughts are loud, you can practice gentle redirection of attention, not forcing your mind away from thoughts, that's fighting, but offering your attention something else to rest on. Breath is a classic object of attention. Not controlling your breath, just noticing it, feeling the sensation of breathing, the rise and fall of your chest, the air moving in and out. When your mind wanders to thoughts, which it will, you gently guide it back to breath. Body sensations work too. Noticing the feeling of your body against the bed, the weight of your limbs, the temperature of the air on your skin. Physical sensations as an anchor for attention. Or sounds. If there are gentle sounds in your environment, you can rest your attention there. Not analyzing them, just hearing them, letting them be background presence. The key word is gentle. You're not forcing your mind away from thoughts. You're offering it an alternative. And when it wanders back to thoughts, which it will, repeatedly, you gently guide it back, without frustration, without judgment. Just, "Oh, thinking again." Back to breath. This is practice. Your mind will wander to thoughts hundreds of times. That's not failure. That's the practice. The practice is the gentle returning over and over, without getting discouraged. Instead of trying to eliminate thoughts, you can practice creating space around them. Imagine your thoughts as clouds passing through the sky. The sky doesn't fight the clouds. It just lets them pass through. It has space for them. You can be like the sky. Thoughts come and go. You don't have to fight them or fix them or even engage with them. You can just let them pass through the spaciousness of your awareness. This might sound abstract, but it's practical. When a thought arises, instead of grabbing onto it and following it, you can notice thought and let it float by. Another thought comes. Thought. Let it pass. You're not empty of thoughts. You're just not grabbing onto them. This spaciousness is different from suppression. Suppression is pushing thoughts down, trying to make them go away. Spaciousness is allowing thoughts to be present while not giving them your full attention or belief. You might visualize this. Thoughts as leaves floating down a stream, as cars passing on a road, as words written on a whiteboard that slowly fade. Any image that helps you hold thoughts lightly, let them be present without clinging to them. Perhaps the most important practice, self-compassion. When thoughts are loud and you're struggling, be kind to yourself. Self-compassion means treating yourself the way you'd treat a good friend who's struggling, not with judgment or harsh demands, but with kindness and understanding. Instead of "Why can't I just sleep? What's wrong with me? I hate this," you might think, "This is really hard. I'm struggling right now." Many people struggle with nighttime thoughts. I deserve kindness in this moment. Self-compassion acknowledges the difficulty without adding self-judgment. It recognizes your humanity. It offers yourself the same care you'd offer someone you love. You might even place a hand on your chest or your belly, physical self-soothing, and say kind things to yourself. This is temporary. I'm doing the best I can. It's okay that this is hard. I'm here for myself. Self-compassion actually helps regulate your nervous system. Kindness activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. It counters the stress response that fighting thoughts creates. So when thoughts are loud, when you're frustrated, when nothing seems to be working, that's exactly when to offer yourself compassion. Not because you're supposed to, but because you're suffering. And suffering deserves kindness. Finally, Accept that some nights will just be hard. You can do everything right, all the practices, all the techniques, and still have nights where thoughts are loud and sleep is elusive. This isn't failure. This is being human. Sometimes your brain chemistry is just difficult. Sometimes stress is high. Sometimes life is hard and your mind reflects that. That's okay. Accepting that some nights will be hard helps you not add suffering when they are. You don't have to fix every difficult night. You don't have to make every night perfect. You just have to get through with kindness and trust that other nights will be easier. And even on hard nights, you can rest. Rest isn't the same as sleep. Lying quietly, breathing gently, being kind to yourself. This is rest, even if you're awake. Your body is still recovering, even if your mind is active. So release the pressure to make every night good. Some nights are just for surviving with gentleness, and that's enough. Now let's talk about what actually helps quiet nighttime thoughts. Not force them silent, but create conditions where quieting becomes possible, where your mind can finally settle. These aren't guaranteed fixes. They are supports, practices that work with your brain instead of against it, tools that many people find helpful, though everyone's different. The goal isn't perfect quiet. That's probably not realistic most nights. The goal is enough quiet to rest. Enough settling to allow sleep eventually. Good enough. Not perfect. Your brain needs to feel safe to quiet down. If it perceives threat, real or imagined, it stays vigilant. So creating safety signals helps. Physical safety signals, comfortable temperature, soft textures, familiar scents, gentle sounds. Your environment telling your nervous system, you're safe here, you can rest. Emotional safety signals, self-compassion, kind self-talk, reassurance. Telling yourself, you're okay, you're safe right now. Nothing requires your immediate action. You can rest. Social safety signals, if you have them available. A sleeping partner nearby. Knowing others care about you, even if they're not physically present. The sense that you're not completely alone in the world. Your brain especially responds to rhythmic, predictable sensations, gentle rocking, repetitive sounds, rhythmic breathing. These signal everything's stable, no threat. thoughts. Safe to rest. Creating safety isn't about eliminating all stress from your life. It's about helping your brain recognize, right now, in this moment, I'm safe enough to rest. We mentioned breath earlier. It's worth expanding on because breath is one of the most accessible tools for quieting thoughts. You don't need to breathe in any special way. You don't need to control or change your breath, though you can gently slow and deepen it if that feels good. The practice is just noticing breath. Breath is always happening, always available, always in the present moment. So resting attention on breath brings you into now, and thoughts lose power when you're fully present. When your mind wanders to thoughts, it will. You gently return to breath. Not with frustration, just, thinking. Back to breath. Over and over. This is the practice. The returning itself is the medicine. Each time you return to breath, you're training your brain. We don't have to follow every thought. We can choose where to place attention. Gently. Without force. Just choice. If focusing on breath creates anxiety, this happens for some people. Use something else. Body sensations, sounds, even a gentle visualization. The principle is the same. Attention resting somewhere other than thoughts. Thoughts live in your head, but you can move attention into your body, creating distance from thoughts. Progressive body awareness means slowly moving attention through your body, not tensing and relaxing, just noticing, feeling. Start with your feet. Just notice what your feet feel like right now. Are they warm or cool? Heavy or light? Any sensations? Just noticing, not changing. Then slowly move attention up, ankles, calves, knees, thighs. Each part just noticed, felt, acknowledged, taking your time. No rush. When thoughts interrupt, they will. You gently return to the body part you were noticing. Thinking. Back to my legs. Gentle redirection, over and over. You might fall asleep before finishing this practice. That's fine. That's the point. You might need to start over multiple times. That's fine too. The practice itself is calming, regardless of completion. Here's a specific breathing technique some people find helpful for quieting thoughts. 4-7-8 breathing. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 7. Breathe out through your mouth for a count of 8. The exact counts don't have to be perfect. It's the rhythm that matters. This works by activating your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest response. The long exhale especially triggers relaxation, and the counting gives your mind something to focus on other than thoughts. Do this for 4 breath cycles. Then return to normal breathing. You can repeat if helpful. The goal isn't to do it perfectly. It's to create a moment of regulated breathing that signals safety to your nervous system. If this technique makes you anxious or doesn't feel good, don't use it. Not every technique works for everyone. The right practice is one that feels supportive, not stressful. Here's another technique: thought noting. Instead of following thoughts or fighting them, you simply note them. A thought arises. You mentally note, thinking. That's it. You don't analyze the thought. Don't engage with it. Don't try to stop it. Just thinking. And return attention to breath or body. Another thought. Thinking. Again, thinking. Over and over. This simple noting creates distance without resistance. Some people find it helpful to be more specific, worrying, planning, remembering, judging, naming the type of thinking. This engages prefrontal cortex slightly, providing a tiny bit of regulation. The key is neutrality. You're not judging the thoughts as good or bad. Just noting, this is thinking, and returning to your anchor, breath, body, whatever you're using. Thought noting helps you recognize thoughts are just mental events. They come and go. You don't have to do anything about them. Just note them and let them pass. Some people find visualization helpful. Imagining peaceful scenes can help quiet thoughts by giving your mind something calming to focus on. You might visualize a calm place, a beach, a forest, a quiet room. Imagine it in detail: sights, sounds, smells, sensations. Let your mind rest in this imagined peaceful space. Or you might visualize your thoughts as having a physical form that you can interact with gently. Thoughts as clouds, leaves on a stream, balloons floating away. Visualizing them as something that naturally moves and passes. The key is creating a visualization that feels calming, not stressful. If visualization creates more mental activity rather than less, it's not the right technique for you tonight. That's okay. Use something else. Sometimes the most effective approach is simply accepting that you're awake with loud thoughts and committing to resting anyway. I'm awake. My thoughts are loud. I don't like this, but this is what's happening right now. I can rest even while awake. I can be kind to myself even in difficulty. This removes the struggle. You're not fighting being awake. You're not demanding thoughts quiet down. You're just accepting present reality and choosing rest within it. Rest doesn't require sleep. Rest doesn't require silent thoughts. Rest just requires stopping the fight and allowing yourself to be here, as you are, without demanding it be different. And paradoxically, when you stop fighting wakefulness, sleep often comes more easily. When you stop demanding thought silence, thoughts often quiet more naturally. Acceptance removes the resistance that was keeping you activated. Beyond tonight, there are things that help reduce nighttime thought volume over time. Regular sleep schedule supports your circadian rhythms. Your brain learns when to wind down, making the transition to sleep smoother. Processing during the day means less processing needed at night. Journaling, talking to others, moving your body. These help process emotions and experiences so they don't all surface at 3 a.m. Stress management during the day reduces nighttime activation. The less overwhelmed your nervous system is generally, the quieter your nights tend to be. Working with a therapist if thoughts are consistently overwhelming can help. Sometimes loud nighttime thoughts signal underlying issues that benefit from professional support. But these are long-term supports. Tonight, you just work with what is. With kindness, with whatever tools feel accessible, with patience for the process. And so we arrive at sleep, or rest, if sleep remains elusive, not silence earned through perfect thought control. Not quiet achieved through fighting your brain, but rest that comes from understanding, accepting, working with your nighttime mind. You've spent these hours understanding why your thoughts feel loudest at night. The brain chemistry, the emotional amplification, the mechanisms that make nighttime thinking different from daytime thinking. And hopefully, that understanding has brought some relief. If this journey brings you some peace, understanding, or permission to be gentler with yourself, like and subscribe. This helps guide others to this peaceful space. Leave a comment on what brought you here tonight. Your story might be exactly what another restless mind needs to hear. Return whenever you need. Remind yourself about these truths. But for now, let the understanding rest. Let the learning integrate. Let your mind do what it's going to do, and let yourself rest anyway. Your thoughts might still be loud. That's okay. You don't have to make them perfectly quiet to rest. You just have to stop fighting them. Stop judging yourself for having them. Stop demanding they be different. Thoughts are happening. And that's okay. You're aware of thoughts. And that's okay. Your mind is active. And you can still rest. Rest doesn't require silence. Just acceptance. Just allowing. Just being here. With whatever is. Let your body rest. Even if your mind is active. Let yourself soften. Even if thoughts are loud. You're doing the best you can. And that's enough. These thoughts. They're just thoughts. Not truth. Not commands. Just mental activity. Happening. And passing. In their own time. You don't have to do anything. Just rest. Just be. Just this. Breath flowing. Body resting. Thoughts drifting. All of it okay. All of it allowed. May your mind find its own quiet. And may you rest. Whether in silence or in noise. Knowing you're exactly where you need to be. I'll see you soon. May your rest be deep. And your dreams be gentle.